later than I expected today, but I had some stuff I had to get done earlier, and here I am. So I know on yesterday's live, we talked about a lot of different things. One of the things being sabotage in relationships. I don't know why I'm forgetting what the topic was, but we ended up talking about a lot of cool stuff. A lot of people were asking questions, which was super fun. It was really engaging. And it was self-sabotage. That's what we were talking about yesterday, because that was something that I was being very transparent about, that I had been going through, and I feel like, once again, we all kind of go through in our own ways, right? So I wrote down some video ideas. I did take into consideration the ideas that you guys gave me yesterday. So don't worry, I didn't forget. I will be doing those in the next coming days. We had a recommendation for a few things, but today I felt inspired to talk about turning challenges into blessings and opportunity. Because I think that one of the things that can be really challenging in life is whenever something is thrown at us, an obstacle, adversity, or even things as early as like childhood trauma, things that we go through right early in our life that can be really debilitating, that can be things that can be perceived as big problems and hurdles that sometimes people don't even believe they can overcome. This can even be diagnoses, this can be accidents, divorces, tragedies, all this stuff, right? These things are very often perceived as very negative things. And of course, rightly so, they're not very fun to experience and can be very hard when we're in the midst of the storm, right? So I want to talk today about my own personal experience with turning my own challenges and my own hardships in my life into opportunities, into things that actually ended up working out for me in the best way possible, things that became my blessings that at one point in my life I was complaining about and I was very unhappy with because I was not having the right mindset and I was not able to yet alchemize my pain and turn it into my purpose. Hello, everyone. Thank you guys for joining. Good vibes from Scotland. Welcome, welcome. Thank you guys. Yeah, so like I mentioned, we're talking about turning adversity, challenges into blessing, into opportunity. And the reason why I find it so powerful to have these conversations is because one thing is true. Most people don't understand that they are creating their experience of life by the type of energy that they're projecting into the world, right? And this goes very deep. If you want to go into the very scientific and quantum realm of this, study Joe Dispenza. He's amazing, and he will talk about changing your energy to change your life. I'm not going to go into that too much today because I will leave that for the experts to go into super detail about. But let me give you guys a little bit about myself, a little bit about my story and kind of where I've come from and how I've been able to get to where I am today, because I know that I actually get a lot of judgment from people thinking that because of the life that I have now, that everything was always easy for me, that you probably had everything handed to you, and that's not the case. So I come from a family. We grew up very religious. I actually come from Mormon polygamy. And this way of being raised, of course, has their own belief systems, right? You are programmed and brainwashed at a very young age to believe a certain way. And it was very strict in terms of how I could think, how I was allowed to carry myself. There was a lot of restriction, a lot of rules that were placed upon us on how we should live our lives. And some of them beneficial, of course, and some of them, most of them, not so much. And other things, that I've gone through in my life were, childhood trauma and abuse and different things like this, of course, right? We all have these things to varying degrees, but the question is, are we able to eventually heal from those things? Are we eventually able to turn those painful experiences into something that we can build a life around, something that we can turn into our power, something that we can leverage and turn into an opportunity even, right? So here's something that I'll give you. I, for most of my life, struggled a lot with mental health. I was someone who not only was dealing with like health issues in terms of imbalances with my hormones, I had a lot of issues around my insecurities around my body. I didn't think that I always felt like I was too big or fluffy or whatever, like all those types of things, right? I had a very pessimistic view on life. Everything was a problem. All I could think about all the time was how other people had it better than me, comparison. And what happened was this just created this havoc, right? This negative spiral of events in my life, and things just kept getting worse. And of course, being in that mindset, I was constantly a victim. I was a victim of all the things that I thought happened to me through my life, right? I had a rough childhood. I felt like I didn't get the love I deserved. I felt neglected. I felt like everybody around me didn't support me. No one understood what I was going through. And yes, all of that may be true, right? Like in some ways, of course, as a child, you are a victim of your circumstances. But we have to recognize at some point when you become an adult, you are the one that is responsible. We are the ones that are responsible for helping ourselves get through those challenges, for making sure that we get the love that we need, that we get the support that we need to overcome, to heal, and to become the person who feels whole, the person who doesn't feel like a victim anymore, the person who takes control of their life and becomes the creator, right? So I think the first milestone in my life, the first time that I really had a click, right? My first awakening was when I was 19 years old. And I picked up this book called The Secret, the Magic. And this book is all about gratitude. It is all about changing your perspective from what I don't have to what I do have. And that shift alone completely changed my life. Like instead of being so pessimistic, concentrating on all the bad things that was happening in my life, I realized that the number one thing that I can do is focus on my blessings. Like I may have had it rough. I may have had my own set of challenges that were really hard, and I'm not going to, shrink myself down and be like, "Oh yeah, it was easy." No, it wasn't. It was hard. But there are also people out there who have it worse than me. And sometimes reframing and changing your perspective can make it to where you don't struggle as much. Maybe you're not feeling that, I don't know. I guess sometimes when you're in those moments of really, when you're in the storm, like it can feel like a lot of pressure coming in on you. And so sometimes that's when we need a perspective shift, right? We need to be able to change little things about the way that we see the world. So for me, that was step one, right? Like changing my thinking. And then from there, I made a step up and I was like, okay. Then I started reading more books. I kind of went into the whole self-improvement, personal development era of my life where I started to realize, okay, well, if I don't like this about my life, then I'm going to change it, right? Because I'm the only one that can change my life. So I became like super ambitious and I was ready to like take on the world. So that was that part of my life, right? So I was kind of moving up the ladder of being hopeless, being depressed, being a victim to I'm going to do something about this. And that is a big shift, right? So if someone is in that really low place, they're not going to jump from being a victim to I create my own reality. I'm going to take control of my energy. Sometimes it's just being angry, right? And maybe getting yourself out of that hopeless place and using that anger, revenge, even vengeance and all these things to motivate you to take action. Sometimes that's the next helpful step. And then from there, you're naturally going to evolve into the next level, which may be forgiveness, forgiving people from your past, forgiving yourself. And this is all stuff that's going to help raise your energy and help you evolve out of those negative thought loops, right? Help you evolve and change your energy enough so that you can change your life. You can change the people who you're surrounded by. You can change the pain that you're in and all these things, because I know it's easy for us to be focused on our external reality because we think, oh my gosh, it's this thing outside of me that's causing this to happen. Well, guess what? It's energy that's causing it, right? It's us and how we are emitting energy that is affecting our reality. And we have to get this. And I know when you're not in a place to hear this, it's going to be hard. But that is why when the people I'm speaking to right now are probably people who are on the frequency, where they're going to recognize that. And if they don't, then maybe you're not ready for it, which is totally fine. Let me read a couple of these comments really quick. I like to answer people's questions. Let me see here. Thank you guys for all the compliments. I appreciate it. Someone says, is Tyson gonna win? They're talking about the fight for tomorrow. Honestly, this is a hard one. I think I want to put my faith in Tyson, but I feel like it's gonna be a really fair fight, to be honest. What was the name? My name is Holly. Wow, I didn't know I was gonna get so many marriage proposals in the comments. Bonjour, madame. Oh, from France. Welcome, everyone. Let's see if I have any more. I grew up in an abusive, strict parents. Yeah, see, this is something that a lot of us go through, right? Like, this is not something that is rare. I mean, most of us, let's be real, did not have perfect parents, right? We all are human beings, right? And we get to the point where we understand, okay, no one's perfect, and it's our responsibility to hopefully heal from those things and then be better for future generations. Only love you need is from Jesus. All right. Hey, I don't judge. Whatever works for you works for you. It's pre-recorded. No, I'm actually live right now. This is real time. I'm almost an adult and grew up with strict parents, so I'm scared of how I'll act when my parents let me leave the house. Well, the advice that I give from my own personal experience, because like I mentioned, I grew up, once again, very strict, very controlled. I wasn't allowed to have friends outside of my very strict religion, if you even want to call it that. It was definitely more like a cult. There was only a few thousand people involved in this religion. It was very hush-hush because it was illegal. There was underage marriages happening. There was a lot of stuff that was just not right? So very strict. What happens when you are sheltered and you have a very controlled way of living as a child, you're naturally going to want to rebel. You're going to want to be very much so the opposite direction. It's kind of like the pendulum swing. You know, when you're very controlled, you're going to want to break out and be free and potentially do the exact opposite, right? That your parents have told you to do. That's oftentimes what happens in those type of situations. So being aware of that can be helpful so that you don't do anything that's damaging to yourself. Also recommended would be getting support, you know, find a counselor, find a therapist, because having someone who you can talk to about your issues and someone who can give you guidance on how to handle your emotions, and it's completely normal. You're probably gonna have to go through a stage of grief. That's something that I also went through when leaving the the religion, and also in the process of leaving, you know, the religion and the cult or whatever that I was in, I lost a lot of family. In fact, I lost most of my family. The only real family that I have in my life now is my mom and my siblings. That's pretty much it. Other than that, I've basically had to let go of all the other people. And that was a process of grief and all this stuff, right? So just understand that even though I see that as a positive change that I had to go through, I still had to process grief. You know, you're still going to go through those phases where you're like, this was hard, you know, you're going to feel angry, and then you're going to feel denial, and maybe you're going to feel sad. Like, allow yourself to kind of go through that process, because it's completely normal when you have any sort of trauma. And I'm not just talking about my own experience with leaving people behind. Any loss is going to have a grief phase, right? So trauma, hard experiences, you're going to have a rush of emotions. And the best thing that you can do in those moments is make sure you're supported. You know, get yourself the care and the love that you need, right? Whether it's a therapist, a dog, a pet, a friend. If you're lucky enough to have a great partner in your life, like those things are really helpful when you're going through a challenging time. Let me see. Someone, are you asking me if I have an OnlyFans? Very funny. Okay. Do I look like the type of person that has an OnlyFans? No. The answer is no. I'm in love with you from the so sweet. I'm thinking about seeing a therapist, but I'm done scared that they will do the same things my parents done to me. Have you seen a therapist? If so, what do they do? I haven't seen a therapist, but I've had coaches. Honestly though, if I could go back, I would have got a therapist because I went through a lot of really hard times alone. And I also went through a lot of really rough patches in relationships. And I put those people, I mean, they were great people that, like my ex-boyfriend, for example, was there for me during some really, really hard times. And he was there to support me and stuff like that and did the best he could. But it wasn't fair to me to put all of my problems onto him. And so the reason I'm saying this is because I didn't know at the time that what I needed was support from a professional. You know, I needed a therapist. I needed someone who could help me process all of those emotions. And so I highly recommend that you do it. I mean, it's something that I love is going more mainstream now. You see a lot more people opening up about it. Like it's more common now. It's less like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? You're going to a therapist, you must be broken. Well, it's not the case. Most people are doing it. It's not that weird. And then after that, like once you feel okay again, maybe you're not going to need a therapist necessarily forever. Of course, if that's something that you want, then great. But the process that I kind of see is you go to a therapist, right? You get to the point where you're good, you're solid, you can kind of handle your emotions, your energy. And then you can move up to like a life coach or somebody that can help you in a specific area, right? Whether it's financial, relationships, health-wise, like you have a lot of opportunity. And nowadays we have coaches everywhere, so you can kind of find and see who resonates with you, who can help you. You can also do a lot of this stuff for free. I've learned a lot of cool stuff online via YouTube, watching other people who've gone through stuff. I mentioned yesterday on my live, there's a few people that I have learned different things from. One person who's really good at helping people through really traumatic past is Teal Swan. Look up her YouTube channel if you're someone who struggles with abusive past. I used to binge watch her videos because she has a lot of helpful tips and tricks on how to like process through hard stuff. And who else? Oh my gosh, there's so many. But she's the first one that came to mind that was really helpful. Because she has different meditations that help you kind of heal your inner child and go through that. Who else comes to mind? There's some others in terms of like relationship type of stuff, but she's more of a life coach. So I say start with someone like Teal Swan, and yeah, getting a therapist. I don't want to stray too far from the topic, which, I mean, this kind of is the same topic of what I wanted to talk about today, but basically what I'm trying to do is help people alchemize their pain. Alchemize the challenges and the traumas and the things that they've gone through. Like I told you, at this point in my life where I went through these roller coasters of emotions, in my early 20s, I was in a place where I called myself an atheist. And I didn't believe in God, and I was like, what's happening? Like, life's against me. Why would God put me through so much hell and doesn't give me the tools and the people to help me get through it? And it was bad. It was really bad. And eventually, I had to build, brick by brick, like starting to incorporate healthy routines. I started being better, eating healthier, going to the gym, doing all the things that I thought were going to help me build myself, doing the research, learning, trying to create my own business and different stuff like that, right? So just constantly trying to better myself because that was my only option, it was either I become better and I try to be working on myself, or I just let myself deteriorate because I didn't have an option. I was in so much pain mentally. I was going through so much hardship that I knew that it was either you move forward or else I'm out of here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just being completely transparent. Like, that's where I was at. So you have to understand and be compassionate with yourself when you're going through those dark patches of life. And people used to tell me, like, oh, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And of course, when you're in that mind space, you're like, you just want to tell them to F off, you know? You're like, I'm in so much pain right now. The only thing I want to do is punch you in the face. Like, I don't want to hear that. But the sad thing is, or the hard thing to hear, is it's the truth. Like, when you're in it, it's hard because you're like, this seems like it's gonna be forever, but it's not. It's gonna slowly, progressively get better. So, another tip that helps you when you're in the storm, when you're in the thick of it, distraction is your best friend. Literally. Distraction from your own thinking. Distraction from your own inner demons. This means either finding a hobby that you love and just immersing yourself in it obsessively. Find something you love to do, whether it's a sport, dancing, or try to do something, of course, that's healthier. I'm not talking about like distracting yourself with drugs or drinking alcohol or, you know, crazy stuff, but watching movies. We even have like social media, which is a helpful tool in some ways. It also, of course, can be a negative thing as well, but using the things that we have in our life, the resources, as an advantage to ourselves. Like, use it to your advantage. You know, when you're in a really bad mind space, take a nap. Like, do anything that you can do to not let yourself spiral, because that's another mistake I used to make. Was when I was in a really bad place, I would play games with my own mind, and it only made it worse. I would spiral deeper and deeper and deeper into depression, and it would be so bad that now I know that the answer is not to feed into it, because whatever you give attention to grows bigger and bigger. So when you have those negative thoughts, when you have those really bad days, don't focus and pay attention to that. Distract yourself. And then eventually you're going to notice that heaviness starts to lift. That really dark feeling, that energy that's suffocating starts to lift. And then from there, you can steadily start to make those improvements, you know, like I'm going to say here on my next few tips. Let me check here again 1 second. I'm thinking about seeing a therapist, but I'm scared. Oh, we already read that one. I'm a sub, so I can watch more and more, learn more from you, so it will help me. I always sketch my thoughts. Oh, yeah. Yeah, journaling is helpful. I do a lot of journaling to process things, you know, so that you can get the thoughts out on paper. It's very helpful to also observe your thinking, because how you're thinking is telling you a lot about your belief systems, is telling you a lot about how you view yourself, your own self-identity, and all these things are wrapped up in how you experience your life. So that's great, Evelyn. I love that you do that. It can be very, very helpful. So writing stuff down, getting it on paper, and yeah, using other people on YouTube, learning ways to, you know, their ways of coping with challenges and stuff like that can all be tools that we have, right, in our toolkit that we can pull out whenever we need them. So the next thing I want to say is, once you get yourself to a place where you feel more solid, right, once you really get yourself out of the dark headspace, when you start to feel your energy lifting and you're ready to, maybe now you're in the process of more hopeful, right, you're more in the energy of, okay, well, I want to make something of myself, or maybe I want to feel excited about my life again. I want my happiness back. I want to feel more fulfilled. How can I use these past experiences to help me? And this is where questions can be your best friend. Instead of asking yourself negative limiting questions, which you hear a lot of people say all the time, right? Why did this happen to me? Or why was my life so hard? Why did I get the shit end of the stick? Well, guess what you're doing by asking those questions? You're asking that, and your subconscious mind goes to work to answer those questions for you and prove you right. So if you don't want that to be true, then you need to change the way that you're asking questions, because questions are powerful. But also, you're so powerful that you can either create your own hell or you can create your own heaven. So ask questions such as, how did that happen for me? How can I make the best of that situation? How can I use my past experiences and my pain to my advantage? How can I turn my pain into purpose? If everything supposedly is working out for me, then why did this happen? You don't even have to fully believe it yet, right? That doesn't mean that you have to completely change your mindset and say, okay, I'm an optimistic person now, and wow, am I blessed to have a shitty past. No, it's literally just saying, okay, I'm not going to hold on to this negativity anymore, and I'm also kind of not really believing into this positive future yet. I'm in the in-between. So now is where I get to leverage the power of questions. I get to ask myself empowering and powerful questions. How is this situation benefiting me? And I know it sounds crazy, but just that question alone, your subconscious mind is going to go to work now. It's going to show you how. It's going to show you why you went through that experience. And then at some point, you're going to recognize, you're going to remember, you're going to feel, oh, that's why I went through that experience. Because for me, I came into my purpose, if you want to call it that. I remembered the reason why I may have chosen those experiences. That is my personal belief. Maybe at some point before I even came into this experience, in this 3D experience, just maybe I wanted to have that experience to push me into the life that I'm living now. Maybe it's possible. And I'll give you another story, another little example from my own life that will maybe help solidify this a little bit more and have it make a little bit more sense to you. I, for so long, had a very turbulent relationship with my dad. For whatever reason, we would always butt heads. I couldn't seem to please him. I always was wanting validation, and my other sisters, I felt like, got so much more love from him and more care. They didn't have to try. Like, they just kind of got this attention from him and were kind of treated more like the princess, and I felt like I was just always treated like kind of like a boy, like a bro, and I got the hardest punishments. I felt like I received all these things, right? And this created a very negative relationship it started to shape the way that I saw men, and masculinity. And not only that, but my own experiences with trauma with men, right? Being abused and seeing around me all these men who were abusing women, taking advantage of women, belittling them, and all this stuff. And I'm not saying this to make men feel bad. Let me just say that. I understand that I'm speaking from experience. I'm not saying this is how men are, okay? That was my experience as a young girl, was almost every single man that I saw was not the healthy version of a man. It was not the healthy version of masculinity. So this started to create a belief system in me. Okay, well, this is how men are, right? All men are abusive. All men are mean. All men are XYZ, right? All these negative things that I started to stack up in my brain. Well, this happened to create a very negative perspective. And even though when I went into the dating scene, I still wanted to find my perfect man, how do you think that's going to play out when it comes to the dating scene if I have all these subconscious beliefs in the back of my mind telling me all men are this way, all men are this way? Well, I'm going to look for it, right? I'm going to prove to myself that that's the truth. So I start dating and I find all these problems with all these different guys that I'm dating, and in some cases, they were actually really good guys, but I was nitpicking and trying to find the problems that I believed were there. And the reason I'm saying this is because life had to constantly put things in front of me and prove to me that good men existed. Because when I was older, I started to be around a different circle of men and a different circle of people. And I started to see, oh, not all guys are like that. Oh, not all men cheat. Oh, not all men are abusive. Oh, and it started to make me question, oh, maybe this isn't the case. Maybe this isn't the case. And that made me dive deeper into my own relationship with my dad, my relationship with men, my relationship with myself, my own masculinity, and my balance of masculine and feminine in my own being. And the reason I say this is because I would have never looked into this if I didn't have those challenges in my past. I would have never questioned that. I would have never thought, okay, let me try to balance my own energy, like those challenges that we go through, the pain is what drives us to ask the questions, which drives us to the solution. And now I'm in an incredible relationship with an amazing man that most everyone around me is looking at me saying, where did you find this guy? I want that relationship. I'm so jealous. I'm only here because of that stuff that I went through, and because I had to do the work on myself and do all those things. And of course, I'm not saying this is the only path. I'm not saying you have to go through what I went through to find that. I'm just saying that sometimes people go through experiences like I did. I see it around me. I have friends, family, cousins, and people who went through similar situations to me, and they didn't do the healing. They didn't do the introspection and the work on themselves. And now they're in really unhappy relationships. They're not in good places in their life. They're miserable. But what is the difference then between me and them? The only difference is that I asked different questions, that I did the work on myself to say, okay, I don't want to experience that. I want better for myself. So the power is in your hands. The power is in how you respond to the situations that you go through. Because we all have problems in varying degrees. But how you respond to them will determine whether or not you have an incredible life, or whether your life is maybe mediocre or maybe terrible. It could be terrible. But you can blame, because you have the power to blame. You can totally blame everyone your whole freaking life. Their fault, his fault, dad's fault, mom's fault, brother's fault, sister's fault. They effed me over. I got fucked up. Da 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 da. You can, and that's totally in your power to do that. But if you want to live a life that is amazing, if you want to rise above the circumstances that you went through, you have to, at some point, change your perspective, ask different questions, and take your power back. Because when you stop blaming everything out here and you say, this is me, I'm taking my power, no one else can control you now. No one else has your power. No one else has your energy. And you should love yourself enough to say, I'm not going to give you my power. You're no longer going to control me. You're no longer going to have the influence over me to destroy my life. No, we're not playing that game anymore. Let me see here. Oh, very nice. Yeah. I have this guy here saying we are good men. Yeah, and I am not a man hater. I used to be an incognito man hater. I don't know if that makes sense, but basically undercover man hater. I thought that I was like, oh yeah, I love men. I want to go on dates. I want to go have fun. Guys are awesome. But in my subconscious, I did not feel that way. I was pissed. I was so pissed at them. I had so much rage, energy, like projecting all of this, like all these negative thoughts about how I thought men were. But guess what? That may be true for a select amount of guys. I'm not saying that they don't exist, but there's also a lot of great men out there. There's a lot of great qualities. There's a lot of amazing things to appreciate about the men in our lives. But we're not going to be able to find those great qualities and even be around those type of men until we heal those things within ourselves, because any good man, any man that has any value on himself, any self-respect, isn't going to allow people in his life who constantly are judging him, criticizing him, putting him down, telling him how terrible men are. I mean, reverse the role, right? Like if you're the woman and your man is saying how terrible women are and women are shit and women are manipulative and women are this and that and cheat and da 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 da, you're gonna be like, if you have any self-respect, you're gonna be like, I'm not having you in my life. Like, I'm not gonna be around you no more, because that's rude and disrespectful, and no one wants to be around that who has any self-respect. So it's pretty common sense. Like, don't expect to find something good when you're talking trash about the same thing. It doesn't work that way. So this is another thing that kind of goes back to the whole topic of today's discussion, which is I learned to turn my challenge, which was abuse and trauma and very negative experiences around men and masculinity, and I've been able to alchemize that. Am I perfect? No. Do I still have certain challenges and thoughts that come up? Yes. But I still am able to walk myself through it. I'm still able to say, okay, well, yeah, maybe at some point in my past this was the case, but not anymore. And I did enough work on myself to where now I have allowed a good man in my life that is able to heal me even on another level, because he's just proving to me day after day after day what it feels like, what it looks like to be around healthy masculine energy, to be around a man who protects you, a man who provides for you, a man who gives you consistency, a man who shows you what true love is, and holding you in a space where you get to be yourself, where there isn't control and manipulation and struggle love and suffering. Like, that's not how it has to be. You get to have all these great things, but like I said before, where does it start? It starts with us. It starts with us taking accountability, taking responsibility, and being brave enough to ask ourselves those questions. Like, okay, yeah, I may have this challenge, I went through this experience, but there comes a point in time after you process through your grief, after you allow yourself the time to be okay again, because like I told you, there is going to be a time of an adjustment period. You know, with every change, there's going to be an adjustment period. And once you get yourself back to more of an equilibrium, then you can ask those questions, right? Now I can say, okay, how did that happen in my favor? How can I, even if it was so rough, like, how can I make this, because I'm so powerful, I'm such a powerful creator, how can I make this into my blessing? How can I turn this into an opportunity? Because that is where you're going to see your life completely transform. It's going to pull you out of depression. It's going to pull you out of any other negative thinking that you have, because we all as humans have the power to transform our experiences. And equally, you can do this in the reverse, of course. Like, you can, like I mentioned, you can turn your pain into purpose, and you can also turn your purpose into pain. You can take the best things in your life and turn it into a shit show if you have a negative perspective. You can turn the most amazing relationship into a shit show if you find all the problems and all you focus on is the negative. I've done that, been there. And I learned, as long as I am looking for the problems, I'm going to find them. Because problems and solutions are a completely different energy. Problems are here. All your negative thinking is a certain vibration at the end of the day. We're all energy, everything's vibrating, okay? Thoughts are also vibrating. Problem energy, problem consciousness is here. Solutions are here. And you're not going to find them when you're on the energy of blame, anger, resentment. You have to let your energy rise. Let yourself go up and say, no, no more of that. I want to allow myself to even entertain the idea of a solution here. Let me just see if it's possible that I can find an opportunity in this. Let me see if I can just find the blessing. Play a game with yourself. Make it fun. Let me see if we have any more questions. Into what? I don't know what you're referring to, Cookie Dog. That's a funny name. What did we do? I'm guessing you're referring to men, to guys. It's not about what did you do. It's about men in general and women too. I mean, let's be real. All of us have our own issues, right? Men have problems, women have problems. But I was just talking about my own experience with my abuse and stuff like that from men in my childhood, and how I had to overcome that and release the anger and rage around that. And I know that I'm not the only one that struggles with this. There's a lot of women out there who are calling themselves feminists. They're calling themselves a lot of other things. And you can feel the anger, you can feel the rage, you can feel the energy that they're putting out there and saying, I'm pro-women, women empowerment. But really it's coming from the energy of, I hate men. But guess what? You can't hate men and love yourself at the same time. And let me tell you why. We all have within ourselves masculine and feminine energy. And when you reject on the outside someone who you perceive as separate from you, you're not fully loving yourself. Because you're still holding on to hate. You're still holding on to negative energy. Anyone who loves themselves is not going to let themselves suffer by holding on to negative emotions. So there's a little wake-up call for anybody who's still holding on to hate, revenge, anger. You have to get to the point where you ask yourself, how much do I love myself? Do I love myself enough to let go of the hate and the anger? Who was that person that said the saying of, I hold on to anger, I drink anger, the poison, and expect the other person to die? That's literally what we're doing with negative emotion. Every time that we hate or we hold resentment toward any person in our life, whether it be an ex, an abuser, somebody we're pissed at, and we're like, oh, I hate them, I'm gonna, blah, blah. You're sending them energy. Bad energy, yes, but you're holding on to it. You're the one feeling it, thinking that you're punishing them by keeping this inside you, and really you're punishing yourself. You're making yourself sick. You're making yourself unhappy. You're blocking yourself from abundance. You're blocking yourself from receiving your soulmate. Let it go. The best thing that you can do as revenge to someone that you're pissed at is giving them no energy. None. Pretending like it didn't happen. Literally. Like, oh, this person did these awful, terrible, terrible things for me. Okay, well, act like they don't exist. Give them no more energy, no more thoughts, no more attention. And then, boom, it can't exist anymore, because the only thing that can exist in your world is that which you give attention to. Where are you from? I am from Utah in the United States of America. Some of these comments are in a different language. I apologize. I am not someone who knows multiple languages yet. I am learning Spanish right now, which is kind of exciting. Are you religious? No, I do not consider myself religious. I consider myself spiritual, but even that word I kind of am careful with, because I'm not the way that some people think of like spiritual people. I'm not like super like meditate every single day and crystals and anything like that. I'm a believer in, you can call it God. I don't really care what the word that people use, creator, source. I believe that there is a power, right? That is within us all. That is also the thing that, makes the sun rise every day and all that stuff. So that is what I consider to be my foundational belief system. And I also believe in universal laws. I think that there are certain things that govern this life and that allow us to either live in harmony with nature or live against it, and then you suffer. And some of those things are, like I mentioned, attention, right? Whatever you give attention to, you're feeding. Think of attention like your currency, right? We think about money and we think it's so powerful. Oh my gosh, everybody wants to be rich. Everybody wants to have so much money. Money is a form of currency, right? You have to, in some ways, trade either time or ideas or creativity in exchange oftentimes for money. But here's another thing to maybe take this a little bit deeper. Money comes when you raise your energy and your frequency. So when you get on a higher vibe, then you're going to be able to attract more money in your life, because the best thing that you can do, the most valuable thing that you have in your life is your time and your energy, because that is something that no one can pay for. No one can pay for extra time. When it's your time to go, it's your time to go. Like, there's no amount of money that can fix it, right? And it's the same thing with your energy. When you're sick and when you have no energy, like, the only thing that you're craving is to be able to get out of bed again and those types of things. That is your currency. That is your life energy. And it's the same thing. The more that you raise your energy, the more that you bring yourself to a higher vibration, the more money you're going to be able to create, because you're going to have more time, potentially. You're going to have more health and vitality. People are going to be more drawn to you. You're going to bring more opportunities to you, which of course is going to create more money. So billionaires, I guess is what you're trying to say, are the people on the highest level of energy. I mean, that's not always the case. Those damn laws of physics. Yes. I mean, and physics are physics, right? And of course there's going to be certain things that science is catching up on. So we're merging the realms of spiritual with science, which is making it very amazing for more people to come into this recognition of life to a higher level. But on the topic of billionaires on the highest level of energy, I would say that in some ways that may be the case, because you're, of course, attracting abundance. But also recognize that billionaires, they also may, one, have been born into it. Two, it's belief systems. So if they believe that money is easy to make, that money is always there, life has to prove to you that your belief systems are true. Your beliefs have to be proven true. So a lot of those people that maybe have been around money a lot in their lives or whatever, like, it's easy for them to attract more of it because it's normal for them. It's a part of their belief systems. Someone who hasn't been around money and who became a billionaire, self-made billionaires or whatever, then yes, they had to change their energy. They're in a different energy, probably when they were young or before they had the money, and now that they have the money. You can ask them. They're in a different frequency and a different energy. Because in order to attract that, you have to change your energy to be able to attract things that are on a different frequency. And I've talked about this in the past. It's one thing to attract something, whether it be a partner, money, health even, and it's another thing to be able to maintain it. How many people out there can maintain a healthy body, financial abundance, and a great relationship and have harmony? It's very few. Like 0.001% of the population that actually has all of those things and can maintain it. Why? Why is this? It is because not everyone is on the frequency of abundance or has the belief systems that allow them to experience that lifestyle and that reality. Because as humans, we haven't been conditioned to believe this way. We've been conditioned into lack. We've been conditioned into fear consciousness and all of these things that suppress and push down our ability to call in or to experience life on a higher level. And those are things that we have to decondition and recondition, right? Letting the fear go, pulling in more love, more beliefs that are conducive to the life that we want to create. Those are some of the most evil people. Read Communist Manifesto, LOL. You'll see how money are made. Yeah, and of course, I'm not saying that every single person that has money is an amazing person. That is not what I'm saying. There are many ways to make money, to lie, cheat, steal. I said some crazy words there. But we all know that people who do those types of things, are they happy? No, because they're also doing drugs. They're also cheating on their partners. They're also doing all sorts of other crazy things to cover up for the fact that they're miserable. I'm talking about people who are genuinely good in their life. That's a whole nother ballgame. The people who are the billionaires or the people who we want to believe are running the planet, that are doing crazy stuff, that are doing all these negative things, like, they let them live and do whatever they want to do. That doesn't have to be a part of your life. It only is if you give it attention and allow it to be a part of your life. But I understand what you're saying. I think that's a topic that, one, I can't fully go into detail on because it's a great question. There's got to be multiple ways that people are manifesting money or bringing in money, because clearly there are people with bad intentions and honestly not great people, right? That are manifesting money, that are calling in large amounts of money and becoming rich. And then there's, great people out there that are also doing the same, because money has its own rules and laws as well. And one of those being, right, you have a service, you give to others, and then you receive money. We see this with people like, McDonald's is an example of people that are extremely rich, right? The owners of McDonald's, and they are selling food that is really not great, right? We all can agree that that's not healthy. And they're not really doing a service for the planet, but yet they're extremely rich. They're giving a service in exchange for something. But tell me, is that type of person, the owner of McDonald's, do you really think that at a deeper level that person is just as fulfilled as someone like Tony Robbins? Who, yes, he's extremely rich as well, but he's changing people's lives. He knows that the impact that he's having in the world is way more beneficial than someone who is putting something into the world that, yes, maybe making them extremely rich and maybe temporarily making someone happy when they eat a burger, but is it really benefiting people? In the grander scheme of things, it's not. It's making people sick. It's making people fat. It's making people a lot of things that isn't beneficial. But yeah, I've never heard of the Communist Manifesto. I'll have to check it out. I'll be honest, I'm glad you found your way and as happy, but reality is not about energy and vibrations and butterflies. We live in a pretty ruthless world. Well, we all have our own belief systems, like I said. We all have our own perception, right? And the only thing I can say is no one is going to change your view except for you, right? Life experience is the teacher. Words don't teach. Like, I can blah, 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 blah. It's not going to register unless you're on the same vibe. It's not going to register unless you have an experience that proves to you that it's true. So the only way that we allow ourselves to change our consciousness or even potentially change our reality is by being open-minded enough to allow other things into our mind. So, if your reality is working for you, then why change it? If you're happy and you're successful and you're good, do you. That's all that matters, right? But if you're not, if you feel unhappy, if you feel something needs improvement, then that's where maybe we need to open our consciousness, or we need to open our minds a little bit and say, okay, how can I reframe this? How can I see this differently so that I can experience life better than I am now? Isn't that the purpose? Because you may be completely right. There are plenty of people out there right now that are living in poverty, suffering, struggling, and all these things, right? But do you want to be living it too? And tell me this. Does you living in poverty, does you being broke and unhappy and sick help anyone? That's just the truth. Us being in a vulnerable place, us being negative or whatever, doesn't help anybody. It doesn't. And that's the thing that people get wrong all the time. They're like, I don't want to be rich like all those assholes that are rich. I don't want to be a billionaire. I don't want to be this and that and the other. What is more helpful? People that are shitty, that are billionaires, or people who have good intentions and are going to do good things in the world having money? Well, good people aren't going to get their hands around money as long as they have that belief system, that negative belief system. Oh, all rich people are this, all rich people are that, money is evil, da, 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 da. You're never going to get rich with that mindset because you're not going to allow yourself to do it because you don't want to be seen as negative and bad and wrong. How dare you want to be rich? How dare you? You're so materialistic. So it is what it is. And it may sound crazy, and I know that some people may hate me for saying this, but we choose what we pay attention to. And if I choose to focus on all the negative stuff that's happening in the world, the sickness, I'm gonna feel miserable because I'm tuning into that. I'm tuning into the suffering. But I can't help from that perspective. The only way I can help is by focusing on the good that's happening in the world, being in a good energy, and then pushing the good energy out. Educating people, sharing with them how I can help you change your perspective. How can I help you change the type of people that you're around? Maybe having a better relationship because that's going to inspire someone else. The only way that we're going to change the world is by being the change. Super freaking cliche, I know, but it's freaking true. We're not going to go out there and we can feed this homeless person and that homeless person and that homeless person, but there's going to be more and more and more and more and more homeless people. Not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but you have to first be the thing that you want to see the change. You want to be able to help more people? You want to be able to help more hungry people? You want to be able to build more schools around the world? You want to be able to change people's perspective? Maybe we want to see less people in prison. Maybe we want to see less criminal activity. Guess how that's going to change? Us becoming the person, and then we make an impact. But sure as hell isn't going to change by us staying in limitation. It's not going to change by us sitting in our house saying, oh my gosh, poor people over there struggling and suffering. Oh my God. Like, it's just not. No, they trade their lifetime for money. Yeah. And I mean, that's another thing, right? Money is one thing, but money doesn't mean anything if you don't have your time. You can be a billionaire, but if you have no time with your family, you have no health, you have no this, it means nothing. So we have to decide what it is that we value. Do we value money or do we value our time? The only reason why I personally, like my goal is a certain amount of money, passive income. Why do I want passive income? Because it gives me freedom. Because it allows me to help the people I love. Because I get to live in a joyful place. What is your intention? Why do you want what you want? A lot of these billionaires out here, these people that have all this crazy money, they're probably doing it for a different reason. They want power. They want to be in control of the world. They're moving from fear. That's not going to get them anywhere, but more miserable. And then even when they get to the $1 billion, it's not enough. So guess what they turn to? Drugs, addiction here, addiction there. Why? Because it's not fulfilling the hole inside of them. The laws of action and reaction. Fruits of activities is karma. Yeah. Right? There's common sense things. Every action, every thought, everything, it has an equal and opposite reaction. That's part of taking accountability for our own way that we're showing up in the world, either positive or negative. Like I said, you are powerful. You create life. I have negative thinking. All I'm doing all day is being negative, problem-oriented, da-da-da-da. Guess what I'm going to get? That. It's not a perception, unfortunately. Reality reality is in statistics. Numbers don't care about your beliefs. Yeah? The unfortunate truth about that is that reality is created by everybody, right? Mass consciousness, if you want to call it that. When a bunch of people have similar belief systems, right? Collective consciousness, if you want to call it that, it creates a collective reality, right? The collective reality may be that most people are broke, per se. Maybe not broke, but most people live a life where they want more money. Most people in today's world live in a place of lack. Maybe it can be proven statistically, right? But why is that? It's proven statistically because the mass consciousness believes it, and therefore the numbers prove it to be true. But it's not because it's true for everybody, because not everyone is sick, not everyone is broke, and not everyone deals with that reality. People deal with the reality that they choose into. So the statistics that you're talking about right now are based on the mass consciousness. So are you choosing into the mass consciousness? Are you going with the matrix? Or are you choosing to believe something differently? No, I'm just saying that you shouldn't be, I'm not saying you shouldn't be positive, not at all. We just must not stray from the reality and keep things real. I get what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I think it's just, I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship, I guess, with that. There is individual reality, but would be nice to have a hive mind instead of government for the good of all mankind and shit. Yeah, I agree. I see what you're saying, and I think that those type of things will come in time, because I think a lot of people are unhappy with the way things are, and because of that, if we as a collective would focus less of our energy on the problems, like I said before, most people in the world are still focused on lack. Most of the people are still focused on, I hate the government, this is a problem, I don't have enough money, and they stay on that vibration. They stay on the energy level and the focus level and the thought level of not enough money, I don't like this, don't like the government. Okay, well that's not getting us anywhere, right? It's perfectly fine to be aware, like you said. Step one, acknowledge reality. My reality right now. This is where I'm at, don't like it. Okay, step number two, solution. Step number two is how can we make this different? That's the problem that most people are making. All they do every single day is wake up and acknowledge reality and then live into that. Instead of acknowledge reality, okay, yeah, I don't really like this. Okay, what do I do? What do I want? Where can I focus my energy? Where's the solution? That's the biggest thing. Redirection. Redirection. Not problems, solution. Solution. Okay, what is energy level? What is energy level exactly? Okay, how do I describe this? The easiest way to tell your energy is how you feel, right? I mean, that's the simplest way. If you feel good, you feel energized, you're joyful, you're happy, you're at peace most of the time, your energy is good. And this isn't just something that I'm speaking. This is something that is measurable now. Science measures this. We all have this aura, this energy that comes off of us, right? Yeah, the mood is the way that we perceive our energy. Yes. And it's measurable now. By brain scans, it's measurable on all of these different things. How you feel is a projection of what's going out. And you say you disagree? Why do you disagree with that? Maybe I'm not explaining it the best, but there are some people that talk about this a lot better than me. Like I mentioned, Joe Dispenza talks about this. Bruce Lipton is another good one. Who else talks about this in pretty good detail? Those are my favorite ones. And they back it by science, so it's a lot easier for people who are more logical to understand it. The reason why I believe in this stuff so much is because I've experienced it, and experience teaches. Energy is something you can measure and quantify. Yeah, exactly. So people like Joe Dispenza are measuring in brain scans people when they're in a certain frequency. Say, for example, they come to one of his seminars and they're not in a good energy. They go through these processes of meditation, raising their vibration, whatever, right? And then they do a scan afterwards, and the energy centers in the brain are different. The electromagnetic field that's coming off the body is different. That is a difference in energy based on the way that we perceive it, which is mood, right? When we're in depression, the waves are slow. When you're happy and you're in love and in your appreciation, it's like boom, 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 fast energy. Mood, however, is balance of chemical in your brain. Yes, I see what you're saying. Yes, I don't know the exact scientific way to say it. I'm just kind of summarizing for you, but yeah, I think that's what it's called, EEG waves. But I see what you're saying, because balance of chemicals, yeah, because this is gonna be a interesting thing to talk about, because we can start talking about like hormones, for example. Hormones affect your mood, right? So is my vibration bad because my hormones are down and I feel crazy? That's something I haven't looked into. I personally have experienced this, and I experience it often. If, for example, as a woman, right, we go through phases, right, throughout the month. Before our cycle, we oftentimes have PMS, right? Does that mean that when we're feeling those things that we're on a lower vibration? I personally think yes, which is also why I believe when you're healthier and your hormones are balanced, you're not going to have as much issue with your energy being low, because you're healthier. You're more in balance. You're going to have more solid mood. And we also know, even just in the most simplest terms, your energy and your emotions affect how you make decisions. This is something that's well known even in sales, right? Salesmen use this tactic all the time. They get you in your emotions to make you make a different decision when they're trying to sell you. We make different decisions based on how we feel. 100% true. So if we're going to want to make a smarter decision, a better decision, even around food, for example, when we feel happier, we're more likely to go to something healthier, potentially, because we don't need the dopamine hit from the donut, because we already feel good. So good mood, more energy, feeling low equals low energy. I don't know if I totally understand what you're saying, but you're saying good mood equals more energy equals low energy. I'm a little confused. Maybe you can write that a little bit differently, but I think I understand what you're saying. I'm just trying to understand your energy scale. Yeah, I try to keep it simple for myself. Like I said, I'm not an expert on this stuff. I try to understand the basics, and then I just kind of take it from there. But I assess myself every day. I check in with myself. How do I feel? And when I feel not so good, I ask myself, okay, first I'm assessing my thoughts. What am I thinking? Am I thinking negatively? Maybe I'm thinking like, oh crap, what do I have to do today? Maybe I'm getting overwhelmed because I have a big list of things to do. I know that is not necessarily where I want to stay, so I start to change my thinking so that I can change my energy, my mood. Maybe I think, okay, well, maybe I'll write this down because that feels better to me. Then I feel a lift. I feel lighter because of changing my thinking. And so there's just little things that I do, and I use my mood as my compass. I'm using my energy level, mood, yeah, as a guidance way to say, okay, well, I feel a little negative right now. Okay, how can I feel better? Because I want to feel better. Who doesn't want to feel better? I mean, everything we do, every human does, is to feel better, because we think in the having of it, the thing, money, cars, relationship, that we're going to feel something better when we have it. I'm not saying mood is energy. I think what I'm saying is mood is a way to translate what energy we're on, what vibration we're on, if that makes sense. Your mood is how you determine the energy field that's going out into the quantum, right? Because I'm trying to remember the word that Joe Dispenza used, but he says your thoughts create, yeah, that's what he says. Your thoughts create an electromagnetic field that goes out into the quantum, right? Your heart, your feelings, because your thoughts create then your feelings. Your feeling, your mood, then creates a magnetic field. So you're actually pulling into yourself with your feelings and your mood. So one is going out and one is pulling in. The heart is magnetic, meaning it draws to you. And I think it's important to be aware of how you feel, because how you're feeling is how I'm pulling, and what experiences I'm pulling and drawing into me, into my experience. Maybe not into my body per se, but into my life. Goes to where? In regards to what? I think what I'm trying to say, I think what you're trying to ask me is where does the thoughts go? The thoughts go out into the quantum, into the space where all is created, right? The empty space, the darkness where all things are created, like the womb, right? The womb is dark, something goes inside, grows, boom, becomes a thing. That's how everything is created from the energy that's already here, right? Energy is never created or destroyed, it just transfers into different form. Quantum, yes. I'm not 100% sure the best way to explain it, but I feel like I did a pretty decent job explaining it, and at least in a way that hopefully makes sense. But wow, I've been on here for a long time. I feel like I can talk about this stuff forever. But anyways, I love having conversations with you guys. Thank you so much, Cookie Dog, for commenting and sharing your thoughts with me today. I love having these conversations. I think that they're very helpful for a lot of people who maybe needed a clarification on those topics. It's very helpful for me. That's why people say your thoughts create, right? Whatever you push out. Here's another cool way, right? So there's a lot of things in my life I've manifested, and that's why I believe in this stuff so much, because I've experienced it. For example, when I was 20, I was writing in my journal all the things that I wanted, and one of the things was a Jeep. And I read it for about 30 days. I was like, I want a Jeep, I want a Jeep, I want a Jeep, I want a Jeep. And then I threw it away to the side, I forgot about it, and then, I don't know, maybe a few months later, I went in to get a car, totally forgot about the fact that I wanted a Jeep. And I was just telling the guy kind of what I wanted. I was like, you know, I want a good priced car. I gave him no specifics about anything, but like, I want a good price, basically. He goes looking for the vehicle, takes me out to this car, and he shows it to me, and guess what it is? It's a freaking Jeep. Like, and then it wasn't even until later that it registered in my mind that I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is exactly what I asked for. And this has happened to me in so many ways, about getting the job that I wanted, the partner, all the things, right? Everything that I wrote down so far manifested into my life, meaning I brought it to me because I thought about it. I put it out into the quantum, right? It's existing out here in this ethereal realm. Everything exists in thought first, right? And then I focus on my feelings, because if I want to draw that experience that I've created in my mind to me quicker, then I must magnetically draw it and pull it into me. And the fastest way I do that is by being on a higher vibration. Higher meaning faster moving energy. Faster moving energy is going to be things like love, appreciation, excitement, right? Those things that you feel in your body, you know, when you get excited about receiving something and you're like, oh my God, I'm so excited, right? Higher energy, faster moving energy. And I've used this to my advantage in my life in so many ways. I felt the energy of my partner and our great relationship before it even came into my life. I felt, okay, this is how I feel in the relationship. And I would feel into the amazing emotions that I was going to feel before it came. Traveling, the same thing. The places that I went. And I would have literally like deja vu moments when I was in Brazil and when I was in these beautiful places, like, oh my God, like I felt this before it even was in my life. I felt those emotions before it was even here because I was drawing it, I was pulling it into my life. And once again, I'm speaking here from experience, and I know this, but you're not going to know it until you practice it and experience it, because words aren't going to mean anything until you live it, right? So maybe you try it, see if it works, and if it doesn't, hey, totally fine. But I had so much fun with you guys today. I feel like I'm going to lose my voice if I talk anymore. It's crazy. I didn't realize. Damn. Maybe I either don't talk very much and I'm talking a lot now and so I'm losing my voice, or else I don't know. Thank you guys, everyone who joined today. Thank you for the comments, and I had fun with the topic today. It was super fun. I have some cool stuff. I'm not going to promise that I'll be here tomorrow, but like I said, I want to be more consistent with posting more days a week. I'm going to try to do them every day, even if they're just short, but I'm not going to tell you the topic for tomorrow yet. I'll kind of let you guys be surprised. I try to go on around anywhere from 12 to 2 p.m. and that's Mountain Standard Time, if you guys want to join me live. But for now, I'm going to log off because I've been on here forever. And I will chat with you guys tomorrow. Okay, bye.